Okay, so we're talking about the expression trouver, which does mean to find, but you can use it to give an opinion. You can say je trouve que, and then whatever your opinion is. In the mot de vocabulary pages, the girl gives her opinion. She says, il est joli le pantalon vert, and then asks, tu ne trouves pas? Which is like, don't you think? It's asking if you agree with my opinion. To which the other girl replies, si. So I want to explain now about si. Si means yes in response to a negative question. For example, if someone asks you, tu n'aimes pas les épinards? You don't like spinach, but you do like spinach. You would say, si j'aime les épinards. It's a little bit like au contraire, right? It's saying, no, the negative thing, you just assumed negative, but no, in fact, the answer is affirmative. Okay? So usually oui means yes, but si means yes in response to a negative question. Okay, so here's the vocabulary page. She says, il est joli le pantalon vert, tu ne trouves pas? Si, j'aime beaucoup. Over here, the saleswoman here asks her, vous faites quelle pointure? Vous faites quelle pointure? Okay, so she asks, vous faites quelle pointure? And the response, je fais du 38. So pointure is a shoe size, and you'll notice 38, that's a European shoe size. So they work on a different scale than we do. Okay, and here we have this guy's going to try on some jeans in une cabine d'essayage. The salesman asks, ça va le pantalon? Ça va? Is that going to work? Ça va le pantalon? And he says, non, il est trop grand, il est trop large. Je voudrais la taille au-dessus. Il est trop large, je voudrais la taille au-dessus. Vous faites quelle taille? Je fais du 38. So again, the jean sizes also operate differently. It says vous faites quelle taille? La taille is also the size, but this would be, la taille is like a clothing size, whereas la pointure is a shoe size. So we have two words for size, la taille for clothing and la pointure for shoe. Okay, so when you're reading through this conversation, he says, il est trop grand, il est trop large. Je voudrais la taille au-dessus. And here he says it's trop serré, so too small, too tight. Je voudrais la taille au-dessus. So unfortunately, here we have two words that look really similar, but they mean the opposite of each other. So au-dessous is the size down, and au-dessus is the size up. So then we also have this verb essayer. Essayer means to try or to try on. So Julien essaie le pantalon. Il essaie le pantalon. And here we have the saleswoman. No, I think this is just two girls that are shopping together. And this girl gets her opinion. She says, à mon avis, la robe rouge est plus jolie que la robe verte. And this girl says, moi, je crois que j'aime mieux la robe verte. Moi, le rouge, c'est ma couleur favorite. So we have some more expressions that can be used to give opinions. Just a moment ago, we looked at je trouve que. That's for giving an opinion. À mon avis is also for giving an opinion. And je crois que is also for giving an opinion. Okay? Okay, we are looking at, I'm not sure the page number here, but just the next one over from the two vocabulary pages we were just studying. And we have in activity 10, you can see these images, and each of these people has a problem with the clothing that they're trying on. So you might need to refer back to the two vocabulary pages we were just looking at. We have these adjectives petit, grand, long, court, serré and large, long, court, and joli. I'm going to ask everyone to chat your answers to me for activity 10. So 1 through 5, just choose which adjective is correct for each one. So let's look at number 1 together. It says, les chaussures sont trop petites ou trop grandes. And I think you can tell in the picture whether those shoes are trop petites or trop grandes. So in your chat response to me, you can just put the word petite or grande. We're going to look at activity 11 now. What I want everyone to remember about using color adjectives is that they're just like other adjectives. You'll have to make adjective agreements. You'll have to agree with the noun that you're modifying. So if you're using the adjective vert, for example, and you're describing something masculine like un chemisier, un sac, something like that, it would just be un sac vert. But if you're describing a noun that's feminine, you have to add an E, just like you would for other adjectives. So it might be une robe verte, or une chemise verte, or une casquette verte. You would add an E. For a lot of the colors, it doesn't really affect the pronunciation because they either already end with a vowel, or if it ends with an R, you won't really hear a difference in pronunciation. So for adjectives bleu, noir, rose, rouge, you won't hear a difference. You will hear a difference for vert, which is vert. Gris becomes grise. For violet, you have to actually double the T, so it's violette. And then blanc is extremely irregular. It becomes blanche. For two of the colors, they oddly don't make any change at all. So marron just always stays marron. Even when it's floral, you don't add an S. And the same for orange. You don't add an S in an orange floral for some reason. So we're going to look now at activity 11, and I want you all to chat your answers to me. You're going to tell me the name of the color, but then if the color is supposed to be describing a feminine noun, you should also make it feminine. Metro can put on or wear. It can turn on with electronically light. It can also mean to set the table, and they have two different ways of saying set the table. The easiest one for us is mettre la table. The other one is mettre le couvert. So in chapter 5, we learned that le couvert is like the table setting, the dishes and forks and spoons and everything. So if you say mettre le couvert, it's like set those things out. Okay, and then the other meaning of mettre is to put or to place. So it has its own meaning, to put or to place, but then it's also used in these expressions, setting the table, turning on the lights, etc. And here's the conjugation of mettre, and I'll give you the pronunciation. Je mets, tu mets, il met, nous mettons, vous mettez, il met. As always, the ENT on the ill plural form is silent. Il met. Here's some example sentences using the expressions in the list I gave you above. Il met une grande chemise. Il met la table, or il met le couvert. Il met la lumière. Il met la télévision. Il met les clés dans ma main. Now, there are two other verbs that are conjugated exactly like mettre with a little prefix, either per or pro. So permettre means to allow, and promettre means to promise. So here are some examples of those. Mes parents ne permettent pas le chien dans leur lit. Je vais finir mes devoirs, je promets. So I'm asking all the students to cut these different meanings of maître, list them in your Chapter 7 vocabulary notes. You could also write it on a piece of paper and just put that piece of paper in your Chapter 7 vocabulary section of the Bible. Here are the phrases you need to compare two things or people in French, along with their literal translations. So we'll use the phrases plus que, moins que, and aussi que. Where the ... is, there'll be an adjective in between. So for example, if we were saying, we were comparing how tall two people were, we could say plus grand que, moins grand que, and aussi grand que. So in English, that would be more tall than, less tall than, and as tall as the other person. Okay, so here's an example. Sophie is taller than Mark would be Sophie est plus grande que Marc. Plus grande que, even though the literal translation would be more tall than, it's actually best just to say taller, because that's what we mean in English, and that's how we say it in English. So let's look at the sentence. Sophie est plus grande que Marc. Okay, what's the subject of this sentence? So here we see that the adjective is going to agree with the subject. So the subject is feminine, it says grand. If the sentence had said, Marc est plus grand que Sophie, grand would not have an E on it because it would agree with Marc. Okay, so when we make these sentences negative, as always, we would put the ne pas around the verb. So Sophie n'est pas plus grande que Marc. Okay? So you can use this part to kind of summarize this information in your other section of your grammar notebook and then send a chat.